Hello everybody and welcome back to Quest 64. We are finally going to be going inside Brannoch Castle to see what awaits us at the end of the game. I say that we just go ahead and get started. And I am pretty pumped to get things finished. It's a little bit longer than I was anticipating, but I think that I can still finish the game in under 30 parts. I would like to try and get this whole area done as quickly as possible, so I'll probably run away from the enemies. In the castle, the only two enemies that you will run into are the Red Rose Knights and the White Rose Knights, just as a heads up. And I probably won't do much directional navigating through this castle just because it's extremely linear. It's really hard to get lost because there's not really any curving paths or anything like that. The doors kind of blend in with this awful color scheme, but that's about it. This castle makes me ill. It's all sorts of different bright colors, none of which go together. But it's an N64 game. I don't expect a masterpiece. Can't be any worse than Golden Sun. That game has the worst color scheme in the world. I could fight a couple of these enemies, but I don't think it would be incredibly beneficial to me. By the time I got an increase in HP and MP, it most likely just wouldn't be worth it because it would take so long. So I'll probably just continue running away from them. The first chest is in absolute plain sight. I guess that's a good indication to know you're going the right way. And then behind it is a sort of kind of cleverly hidden door here. And we're just gonna pop in here to grab one of our spirits. One of two in the castle. We grabbed the first one outside the castle in the last video, and there's two inside. The next spirit we get is going to be the last of the game. And some people can correct me if I'm wrong and you know, but I do believe that your max spirits will be pretty much what I have set up right now. I've got 50 earth, 50 wind, and 46 water. By the end of the game, it maxes out at 50, 47, and 50. Unless you're using hacks, or unless I'm just miscalculating. But from what I know, that's pretty much the max that you can do. This room here is kind of interesting. I was wondering what these things on the walls were, and a guide I was reading said that they were cannons, which I can kind of see, but I don't really know, to be honest. Either way, when you come into this big tiled room, then you know you're going in the right direction, so just keep going. We're actually making some really good time here, and hopefully we can take care of our first boss in this video. I may have mentioned it last time, but if I haven't, this place actually is a little bit jam-packed in the end. There are quite a few bosses to defeat. They do give you a little bit of downtime in between them though, which is really nice. But just be prepared that there are actually quite a few of them to fight, and they're all different. Luckily though, I'm here to walk you all through a somewhat maybe good strategy for each of them. And I noticed that enemy encounters aren't nearly as bad in this area. Most likely just because there's only one or two different enemy varieties. But it's just kind of a nice change to see as I'm getting near the end of the game. I feel a little bit less interrupted and disturbed anyways. I gotta save my energy for all those bosses that I need to take out. And there are so many stairs, although this is a really tall castle from what it looked like on the outside. At the end of this hallway here is this golden door, and this is where our first boss is going to be, so I'm gonna restore my MP before I go in because I am going to need it. And then we are going to take on our first boss. And this guy's name is Guilty. I have just been using you to experiment. Now give me all of the magical powers that you have obtained. Well, alright. This guy's kind of an interesting sort of design for a boss, but in my mind it never made any sense. He's just been using us to experiment. But we've never seen this guy, we don't know where he came from, we don't really know what his purpose is. He is supposed to be a servant of Beigis, but it's never really explained that well, in my opinion. But anyways, on with the strategy. So, the thing that's really unique about this guy is that he has no element. If I do the soul search, you can see he has wicked stats, but he doesn't have an element on the top right corner of his box there. And that pretty much means that he is resistant to all elements. So unfortunately, we're at a little bit of a disadvantage here in the fact that one element is not going to have a huge advantage over another one. But just do what you can. Just because your wind or your rock or your fire doesn't do as much damage as it normally would, doesn't mean that you can't win this fight just by toughing it out. Basically what I do in this battle is use a lot of magical barrier. I like to try and hit him with my staff because it gets me some MP back, and it does quite a bit of damage. And avalanche is also a good strategy, although it's a little bit of a chancy one, just because it can miss completely and then you have just wasted a turn, which is a shame. My MP is probably going to drain really fast in this battle, but I do have lots of healing items, so I'm not going to be shy in using them. Absolutely no shame at this point. That has been my goal for the game, is to collect a lot of items so I can use it when I get to this point. This is going to probably be a very long battle, just because this guy does take so long to take down because of his lack of a real weakness. You can see there that Wind Cutter barely did anything in comparison to how it usually does. His short range attack is devastating, that little fire attack where he slams his fists on the ground, which is completely unavoidable. You can't walk out of it, it's just got too far of a range. And the the long range attack, the one with the little claws there, as far as I know, is also unavoidable unless it just happens to miss because your agility is high. From what I've seen, both of his attacks are impossible to just simply walk out of or avoid, which is another reason that he's kind of tough. Another good strategy that you could use is to use Wind Walk or some Giant Shoes to try and get a bit of a advantage on him farther away, so he uses the less powerful of the attacks, where he'll be doing 30 damage as opposed to almost 60. It could give you a good chance to heal up if you need it. You use a turn to heal up, or 2 turns if you're dangerously low on HP. And rinse and repeat. MP is getting pretty low, but I have a feeling that he'll be taken out relatively soon. I don't have too much to worry about here. I'm not worried, I'm not sweating that I'm going to die. And even if I have used items, I think I'll still have plenty left over. Magical Barrier is a little bit cheap, and I know that some people probably don't like to use it, but it really is a lifesaver. It's like Avalanche, it's cheap, but you don't have to use it all the time, and I certainly don't. I try to vary it up a little bit, here and there, because there are some people who play this game, they just hurl rocks at everything the entire game after they get Avalanche, which I think just takes some of the fun out of it, really. Strategy is a huge part in games, in my opinion. I am so lucky that that missed. That just missed by chance. Gives me a chance to heal up a little bit here. And if you have any really good strategy for this guy, then yeah, post it in the comments, of course. I'd love to hear it. We don't get a spirit for winning against him, unfortunately. So we're just gonna have to walk around this room here to restore some of our MP before moving on. And I should be able to get to the save point before I have to stop the video. I don't want to make these too long. I think that the exit is on the other side. These doors look the same, so it's really hard to see which door you come out of, but the southern door is the one you want to go down to find your way and advance on. We should be picking up a couple more treasures soon as well. And then we get to go to a big room with treasure. Not quite as awesome as Shamwood, but it's nice to pick up some last minute supplies. The castle's actually really good about giving you good treasures. We got that dragon's potion a while back, and there will be some more healing potions coming up. If you did use your items on Guilty, then you should be able to compensate for it a little bit by picking up some other ones. And I wish these knights would just leave me alone. I know they're out to get me, but I don't have time to fight with you gents. I have bosses to slay, and Beigis to find, and my father to find, maybe, hopefully, and a world to save. So here's another one of these rooms. But in here, there's actually some stuff to collect. There's 2 chests, I do believe. There's a hero's drink in this one. And then across the hall, there's another one. So a hero's drink is an MP restoring item. And then we get a healing potion for our HP. And then after that, of course, we want to go through the door that leads us out of here, which is kind of in a southeast direction if you get turned around. The castle's coming to a close though, as linear and staircasey as it is. I can probably fit most of the castle exploration in this video, which is nice. Of course, I'll save the next boss battle and what's rest for next time, but pretty jam-packed episode, lots more to come. Even though the game doesn't make a whole lot of sense, even in the end, in my opinion, at least they made an effort to make it feel as if it's the last area of the game. Lots of bosses and lots of treasures, and you're fighting some of the toughest monsters in the game, things like that. Ah, here's another chest. So let's pick this one up, and then let's go through the door on the left-hand side of the hallway here. We get some mint leaves, which is really crappy. That's a super crappy treasure. And in this room, there's a boy. This is Leonardo. Lord Bartholomew's been taken to a remote hiding place, Brian. I came here to rescue him, but I didn't make it in time. If you have the courage to go on, it'll help you regain strength. How about it? Yeah, sure, other child prodigy that we heard nothing about. See what I mean? This is weird. It's like, I was under the impression the entire time that we were the only person that could save our father, that we were the only boy to come out of the monastery, although that kid might have some sort of different background. But at the end of the game, you suddenly just meet this kid who's the same age as you, presumably, who has made it here, and no one's been talking about him, no one knows about him. Not to completely nitpick or anything, it just seems kind of silly. Maybe just an excuse to throw a little bit of story about your father in there. Let's finish our looting and then let's end things off. Of course, because this is a safe room, you can go ahead and restore all your HP, MP, go back out and grind if you need to before you get to the next boss, pick up all these treasures. And we are getting dangerously close to the point of absolutely 100% no return, so just keep that in mind. There's also our last spirit of the entire game, so we have now collected them all. Our elements have been maxed out to the max that they can go, and next video we are going to continue on in the castle. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope that I will see you next time.